Greetings, Marvelers and Marvelettes. We are here in Marvel Snap on BlueStacks, and we're going to go ahead and talk about a recent update the game has, and just discuss how the game is going and everything, as we are in a new season. As usual, whenever I do a video that is not about Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux, I will not be entertaining any questions about Redux down in the comments, so please definitely make sure you go ahead and stay on topic. So, Marvel Snap is a game by Second Dinner. This is a company that split off from Hearthstone several years ago with Benjamin Brody. We have known that this company was going to be producing some kind of a Marvel game in the near future, and there was definitely much anticipation for it when we heard that they were going to release this. So when Marvel Duel dropped, everybody went, hey, is this that game? Is this the game that we've all been waiting for? And of course that was a big resounding no, because Marvel Duel is with NetEase. I think it's NetEase and not Netmarble, and has nothing to do with Second Dinner. So then Second Dinner, about a year or so later, was like, hey guys, here's the game. So, what is... excuse me for the cough there. One thing that is interesting is the game is now reaching people in the United States that have signed up to go ahead and beta test this. If I were to show you my Play Store right now, you would see that I now have a properly quote-unquote legal or above board, above the table licensed version of the game, so I don't have to do any Trixie Hobbits' means to continue playing this game and updating it, because now I get everything from the Play Store. Now, even though that was true for a little bit longer, I have now discovered that if I want to, I can actually go ahead and pay for gold. Previously, anytime I tried to pay for gold, even when I was supposedly actually allowed to get into the beta properly, I was always told that is not available for my country. However, that is no longer the case, as I can partake in the season passes, even the season passes with the bonuses, if I want to. So the season that just recently wrapped up was Thor's Love and Thunder, where the cards were obviously all based around the movie, where we had Sif, we had Unworthy Thor, we had a Thor card that would drop and shuffle Mjolnir into your deck, and you can use Mjolnir, Mew Mew. So that season is now over, and now we are in the Heroes for Hire season, and here is where my collection level currently is. It's Morbin Time was the most recent card that I have unlocked. Works good for discard decks, as it gains +2 power for each time you discarded a card. In this deck. And funny thing is, we can actually go ahead and discuss one of those. So I'm hovering at about 30-10 credits over here, so I don't think I'm going to pull the trigger on the Watcher right now. I'm about 36 minutes off of getting my free 50 credit refresh, but I'm not going to do it on stream because I'm not revealing any personal financial information, but if I were to click one of these, it would actually go through. So here is my current collection. Darth Plato, friend of the channel, has often said there are different pools involved in your card unlocks, and he had said that I had been in pool 1 for a while. I think I'm now finally transitioning into the main pool, so I've got Ant-Man with some alternatives, Elektra, Hawkeye, Squirrel Girl, Sunspot, who does, at the end of each turn, gain +1 power for each unspent energy. Kind of fun. Not the super most useful card, but it's kind of interesting. Actually, if your deck is poorly planned out, Sunspot does well. Angel, who comes in anytime a card is destroyed, so that actually works good with several discard and destruction decks. Ironfist, Korg, Mantis, who is pretty well advanced. You'll notice she has the animated frame, which is one of the higher levels of the card. This is up at Ultra, so There's there's 3D, which is first. There is frame break. There is animated backs, where the background is animated, where you see the waffle texture, the weave texture. And then one of the higher ones is the animated frame, which you can see here as the colors. Well, actually, no, that might be... I have another one that might fit that category. So here's just regular Quicksilver Nightcrawler, who moves. Misty Knight, who has no powers currently. Let's say we rework a Rocket Raccoon. Watu's kind of good in the beginning of some decks. Once this is in your hand, you can see the unrevealed locations. I think that's kind of a nice combo with Scarlet Witch. Ebony Maw, Blade. Blade is good for discard decks. There's Morbin Time. Angela's a very, very common card. When you play a card in a location, she gets 2 power. Kid Bucky Barnes, when this card is destroyed, create a Winter Soldier in its place. And then he comes in as 2/6. Really good for destruction decks, like with Carnage right over here. Forge, very common. Cable is super common. Alternative art there. Craven, when a card moves here, gets +2 power. Good for moving and shaking decks. There's Medusa. I tend to like her a lot. Same thing for Mr. Sinister. Kind of handy. Armor, Colossus, Domino. I see a lot of bot accounts using Domino like crazy. Scarlet Witch, who was recently nerfed, where she replaces the zone with a different one. Good if you are running a lot of games that have a zone you're not that crazy about or don't have decks for. Here's Lady Sif. She is good for discard decks. Kia, Ironheart, Wolfsbane, some Bishop alternatives, Mr. Fantastic, Doctor Strange, good for moving decks. Groot, Killmonger, destroy all 1-cost cards, all. So it's like a miniature, he's like a miniature Wrath of God from Magic the Gathering. Good if you can certainly plan things out. Also, you know, the interesting thing about Killmonger is you could play a lot of cheap cards early on to do specific things like trick your opponent or get a handle on zones that are good for you, and then drop Killmonger to wipe them out and potentially replace them with better cards, because you can fill up a zone really quickly with a couple of 1-drops or like a Sinister and some 1-drops, and you'd be like, man, I don't really like how this zone is playing out, and drop a Killmonger, wipe them all out, and maybe get better cards in there. When this card moves, +5 power for Vulture. Again, good for like Doctor Strange. Sabretooth, when it's destroyed, return it to your hand. It costs 0. That's pretty cool. That would be... So here's... Alright. Here's where Marvel Duel is a good thinking man's game. And how it actually has some resemblances to Marvel Avengers Alliance, where you can set up very interesting combinations based on just a little bit of out-of-the-box thinking. And some people may have wondered why, like when MAA died, what was a good thinking man's game at the time? And everybody would have pointed to Hearthstone. And Kingfisher tried to do that. Kingfisher tried to move into Hearthstone when MAA wrapped up, and for a good out-of-the-box thinking mind, and Kingfisher was definitely capable of it, as was I, based on what I was doing with MAA for a couple years at the end there, Hearthstone would have been a very natural progression to attempt to do content and everything. I did not choose that path because Hearthstone in 2016 was already very well established, and very big names were doing very big content and streaming in Hearthstone, whereas MAA was a very limited pool. And obviously Kingfisher was one of the biggest goldfish in that pool, and I was carving out my own name for it. I didn't think I could make a dent within Hearthstone. Plus, Hearthstone was considerably more expensive to break into at good levels than MAA ever was. I mean, you There's a whole reason why multiple MAA content creators would do like PvP on the cheap, or like best not pay to win setups and everything. Hearthstone, I saw the writing on the wall and said, this spells my doom, so I never tried. This game, Marvel Duel, has got the potential to bring back the crazy thinkers, because here's an example. When this card is destroyed, return it to your hand, it costs 0. That is really good to combo with somebody like Angela. So for example, if you have Angela in a location and her passive was that anytime you play a card in her location, she gains 2 power. Well, what happens if you drop a Sabretooth in there, destroy him, and then drop him again later? That's just a free buff for Angela. So that's a fun little combo you can do there. Deathlock, on reveal, destroy your other cards at this location. So that would not be good with Angela and Sabretooth, because Angela would get wiped out too. However, it's still good to drop on a Sabretooth and then play him again for free for some other particular reason the next round. Swordmaster, discard deck, Devil Dinosaur, good for the opposite of a mill deck. This is good for having a heavy hand. And by the way, there is a on-brand combo here with Devil Dinosaur. If you have Moon Girl, you duplicate your entire hand, which feeds Devil Dinosaur. That's one of the reasons why Devil Dino got nerfed recently. Jubilee, on reveal, play a card from your deck at this location. This is fun because you can ensure that maybe you get some really high card drops to come out with Jubilee if you've been burning your deck out with like little 1s and 2 drops. Shang Chi, I've gotten somewhat relatively recently. On reveal, destroy all enemy cards at this location that have a 9 or more power. That is like kind of, I think, what was a kill shot in Hearthstone from Hunters. There's simply, it was designed to take down big targets, remove the abilities from ongoing cards. Kazar was one of my favorites for a long time. He took a bit of a nerf. I don't use him nearly as much anymore. I like Spider-Woman. I like dropping her on the zones that say cards here get -1 power or cards lose power every turn. She's pretty beefy herself at 4/4, so I like to drop her to kind of double the effects of bad zones. Namor is good if you do him solo, because he's an arrogant, egotistical dick. Here's Thor from the last season. Shuffle Mjolnir into your deck. On reveal, give Thor +6 power. It's a nice 0 drop, so that's pretty good for a late game Thor. There's Emma, the White Queen. Draw a copy of the highest cost card in your opponent's hand. Iron Man, White Tiger, one of my favorites, and I will talk about her in a little bit. Leech, remove the abilities from all cards in your opponent's hand. I think that is a super powerful card. More on him in a bit. Claw, the location to the right has +5 power. Cool card. Gamora. So this is what an actual Ultra card looks like. So we have the 3D nature. She stands out from the rocks. We have the frame break as her elbow goes out and her title goes out, although not much else. We have the animated background. As you can see, the background moving over there and almost like embers of a fire. And then if we hold her card in place, you can see the frame is moving too. So this is an Ultra with the active frame. Different from what was happening before, which is where the turning was just causing some pixelation. Vision, you can move this each turn. Abomination is that's a no power fatty. Okay. I can't see Jane Foster Thor over there for some reason. Jessica Jones, Blue Marvel, I like him in my ongoing deck. Spectrum, same thing for my ongoing deck. Onslaught, same thing for my ongoing deck. Apocalypse in my discard deck. Heimdall, move your other cards 1 to the left. Odin, more on him in a moment. America Chavez, you always draw this card on turn 6, not before. And of course Hulk, one of the biggest 6-drop smashers in the game. So to talk about the decks that I'm running currently, deck 1 was just like the original one the game gives you. I don't use this thing at all anymore. I really should actually remove this thing. I was kind of keeping it for posterity, but there's no real reason to. I should try and see. There we go. There's the trash. Do it. Okay, so there's Ongoing. This was the second deck that I made. This one is to go ahead and pile on the ongoing effects, and then in the late game boost them by either Spectrum or Onslaught, preferably. And Claw is a good example of that. So Claw would beef up the zone to the right of him to 10 power with an Onslaught. Iron Man would quadruple the power of a location. Namor really should not be in this deck, in the sense that, well, actually, no, I take that back. As long as I don't put the card with him, that would be good, because he would be 5, he'd go up to 10, and then he'd actually go up to 15 when Onslaught drops, which is cool. Captain America looks like an on reveal when he drops. He's not. He's an ongoing. He gets a minor boost from the end of the deck. Punisher would get a little bit of a boost. Mr. Fantastic obviously gets a boost to 2 locations if you drop him in the center. Ironheart is here just to kind of buff. I need to see if I have a decent 3-drop that is good for ongoing. At the time, I didn't like Cosmo would be stupid. On reveal abilities, what happened at this location? How do you double that? That doesn't make any sense. Bishop's Power should be honestly classified as an ongoing, if you want to be fair. On reveal for Nakia. Morph is an on reveal. So there's not really much else. And why would you want Lizard boosted? Why would you want Lizard to have -6 power? So I don't really have a good replacement for Ironheart. There is no, again, Colossus was just what I threw in at the time for a ongoing, but it's not like you can double your invincibility. It'd be nice if Shocker had a power. Yeah, most of my other 2s are on reveals, not ongoing. And what good is doubling that cards can't be destroyed? So not a lot of good low drops in the ongoing deck. It's better in the end game. My favorite deck, the one I play the most, and the one that if I had statistics for, I would think I would get the most wins for, is my on reveal. And you can see by the upgrades in this deck, I use this deck a lot. This deck is designed to get out like Mantis and Quicksilver kind of early. Also a Rocket Raccoon. Mostly everybody's on reveals here. Here, Medusa on reveal if it's in the middle, +2 power. Mr. Sinister drops clones. Star-Lord, +3 power if an opponent plays a card there. So my deck is pretty cheap in the beginning, meaning I don't have too many dry rounds. And then Ironheart comes in for the buffs. More on that in a moment. Groot, same thing as Star-Lord, basically on reveal if your opponent played a card here, +3 power. Spider-Woman has an on reveal that I like to mess up zones with. And then here's my end game. I like to combo White Tiger, who draws Cringer or Thundercat over here and who goes off into a different zone, or Gamora with Odin, because Odin says on reveal abilities of your other cards at this location get activated again. So Odin Ironheart means 6 more power goes out. Odin Spider-Woman means everybody's afflicted with -2. Odin White Tiger, which is my favorite combo of the deck, means 2 7 power kitties go out. So that could be 14 power in a zone or 2 7s. Gamora would go up to 10. and then she gets another 4, so she could turn into a 5/14 with Odin. And then if he has to, he could do it with Rocket Medusa. Sinister would kind of be stupid, and Star-Lord. So lots of good on reveals there to combo with Odin, but these 3 here, Odin Gamora, Odin White Tiger, are my favorites, and there are some backups in Ironheart, Spider-Woman. I have a deck called Discard Duty. I haven't gone in here for a while. This deck basically is designed to discard Apocalypse if I can, and have him come back as a 6/12 instead of a 6/8. Colossus just kind of locks zones down. There's my Angela. There's Elektra, who kills cards. I have to retake a look at this desk. Friend of the channel, Darth Plato, had said Lady Sif is a good one for a Apocalypse deck, and not really try to make an Apocalypse deck until I had Sif, and then I did get her. So she's in here now. There's Wolverine. This one, I kind of like this deck called Death, but sometimes it has some dry... Actually, I think I fixed the issue. It did have some dry zones early on. It's gotten better. We've got Squirrel Girl, who drops a squirrel, which is a very known deck style in Magic the Gathering squirrel decks. So she drops a squirrel when she drops. Angel, anytime a card is destroyed, he flies out and comes in. Nova gives power when he dies. Bucky Barnes gives power when he dies. Carnage is a killer. Wolverine is somebody who cannot be discarded or destroyed in that one round because he will just reappear. Sabretooth, I haven't gotten this combo off yet. There's Deathlock. Moon Girl, duplicating the hand, so if I want to feed any more extra cards in here. She doesn't quite fit the theme, but sort of. She's maybe a little useless unless I have a Devil Dinosaur in there. I may want to re-examine her being there. Emma is just there for a little bit of control. Claw is there for a little bit of control, and same thing for Spectrum. So the main premise of the deck is death on these, from the Deathlock to kind of the beginning of the deck. And then late game, it's just about getting some reasonable heavy hitters there. Hey, get on back there. And maybe using ongoing abilities to kind of round everything out. The next card that I made was when a particular zone was popular for a while, about move cards at a certain tone, like a certain round, like move on round 4 and everything. Ironfist is in there. Nightcrawler is in there. Forge is in there. Multiple man. Cloak, really good for this kind of deck. Next turn, both players can move cards. Mr. Fantastic, just to give a little bit of a boost. There's Doctor Strange, who's pretty critical for this deck. Vulture, who's very critical. Namor, basically, he is here so that he can be moved to a potential solo location if we find one opens up later in the game. Claw tries to boost things. Vision can always move, and then there is Heimdall, which moves right at the very end and potentially does a favorable rearrangement. And then my most recent one that I designed is called Control. This is a reference to, say, blue decks in Magic the Gathering. Also, Hearthstone is known to have control decks. I hate blue decks in MTG. The blue mana spectrum, I generally don't like the cards. I hate counters and everything like that. But, you know, you got to go with what works. So Sunspot is in there. Watu. You can't play this card after turn 3. Ongoing. You can't play this after turn 3, and then the ongoing is you can't play cards here. That's why this is Control. He hopefully drops early and locks opponents out of a zone that you don't want them in. Cable, put the bottom card of your opponent's deck into your hand. That steals the card, so that's why he's there as Control. Armor for a little bit of control. Scarlet Witch if I don't like a zone. Cloak if I need to shuffle cards around. Doctor Strange. Rhino, if I really don't like a zone, he will come in and ruin it. Professor X is a lockdown similar to Armor. Jessica Jones is a late game drop where hopefully I drop her in a zone and then don't need to do anything in there for round 6, so she becomes a 5/10. And then there's Hulk that hopefully wins a zone late in the game. There, I may need to again revisit this one. And honestly, Cosmo would be a good control too. That is a glaring, perhaps, misstep that I don't have him in the deck, as Cosmo would really control things. And honestly, I think he could come in and replace Doctor Strange, except I hate not having my own on-reveal abilities go off. But in all honesty, nobody is really an on-reveal except for Scarlet Witch, so maybe that is a good idea. Maybe I should take Strange out, put Cosmo in. Killmonger is definitely a control. You can make a case that he belongs in this deck, as he is, like I've said before, a little mini Wrath of God. Enchantress would be a, part of a control deck. I wish I could read this Jane Foster Thor, but for some reason I can't. A Vision would be too, because you can move him. Especially maybe in round 6 where you need him to go to a zone you can win, and just get him out of a zone you're definitely going to lose. So I would say Vision could potentially go in here. Leech. Actually, Leech really should be in here. You know what? I think I might do this, but see, here's the thing. Here's the one issue I have with this. Leech comes so late in the game, there is only one potential card, maybe two, if it's a 7-round game, that I could screw up. Now, that admittedly, that is short-sighted thinking. You don't have to drop a 6 in round 6. You could drop 2 3s. So yeah. But that's a nice little tweaking there. Let me know what you guys think about the tweaking. Here's my avatars: Heimdall, Sif, Blue Marvel, Ironheart, Gamora, Colossus, Forge, Abomination, Ant-Man, Air, I forget her name, America Chavez, Shang Chi, Misty Knight, Medusa, Cyclops, the generic mercenary, and White Gorilla M'Baku. So there you go, guys. There is what we're looking at right now for this new season, which is Heroes for Hire. You have Daredevil on turn 5. You get to see your opponent's plays before you make your own. Oof. That is really, really scary. What that might actually do, and that's so early in the game. You can get a lot of usage out of that. You have Misty Knight with an odd Captain America shield. Does anybody know why Misty Knight would ever have a shield like this? Has she ever done something like that? I'm curious as to the lore on this one. She has no power. She's just a 1/2 drop, but a nice alternative art. You have a pretty scary looking Punisher avatar. I would probably use that if I could get it. You have a new card art for the Punisher, which is +1 power for opposing cards at this location. That's not new. Card art variant. Gold boosters. A Daredevil avatar. Very classic. Very what you would expect out of Daredevil. I don't think I would use it, but this Punisher card back is really cool. A little maybe hyper-masculine there, but still pretty cool. There's the Daredevil card, and then there is season caches, all the way from 50 to well above 100. Wow, it just keeps going. I didn't know that. I could unlock Premium now, and I could even unlock Premium Plus, which is the Premium Track Plus 10 levels from where you currently are. I would say the Daredevil card would be really the only one to push this particular season passes. Everything else is just a variant. So there you go, guys. That's what's going on in Marvel Snap. Are you playing the game now? Are you able to get this game through your normal channels instead of APK mirrors like APK Pure and Up to Down Store? Let me know what you guys think. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.